right, welcome to History Hour. I am Michael Smith, your host for this hour, and this is Tim Martin from Whitehall, Montana. How you doing today?
Fine, Michael. Thank you for having me in.
So, Tim, you're a teacher at Covenant Community Church here in Whitehall, Montana. What is your background? And tell the people a little about yourself.
Well, I've lived in Montana for about 4 years now and been active with this congregation from the very beginning. My background is from all over the place, I guess you would say, but I was raised in a Christian home. God gave me the blessing of having Christian parents. I'm the oldest of 5 younger brothers and sisters, and I was homeschooled for most of my schooling. I was active in a couple of different Christian ministries and went to a college to learn Christian theology, Christian philosophy, and history. So that's kind of my background, what I bring to Covenant Community Church.
Well, Tim, what you're going to be giving us is a series of lessons on the book of Acts. So what is your burden? What is your idea behind this? I've heard several different versions of the book of Acts, and it's a very compelling, very provocative book. It's one of major controversy throughout Christendom. What is your take, and what can we look forward to as you give us these lessons?
Well, most people read the book of Acts today as if it's this great big hodgepodge of detailed stories. And one of the great burdens that I have in coming to the book of Acts, and really all of the preaching and teaching that I do with Covenant Community Church, is to illuminate or bring all of the history of the Bible together for people who are listening to me so they can understand the heritage they have as God's people. And because of this, because I really want to put Acts into the bigger story of the Bible, I'll be talking about things that probably most people would never make a connection to in the stories of Acts. In fact, I'll be giving explanations that I'm sure many people will say that they've never heard before. But what I really am trying to do with the book of Acts is put it in the wider story of God's covenant acts of redemption and salvation through history. And one of the real problems that we have as Christians, this is why I'm so burdened for bringing the Scriptures to people and explaining what God's story really is that when people don't know the Bible, when they don't know the Scriptures, when they don't know the story of God's heritage, they lead impoverished lives. They can't really put themselves within that big story, and so they just automatically pick up whatever seems natural to them. And they lead very thin lives, very impoverished lives. Well, once we understand the story of God's salvation and understand how all the Bible is the story of our heritage, then we have lots to go on. We have lots to put our lives into to compare and contrast and actually look at the things around us and understand how to understand those particular things biblically. So that's my real burden, and I'll begin by going into the story of Acts, and then I'll also, once we see what the story is, we'll begin applying it to our Christian lives.
Tim, I very much look forward to hearing these lessons. When you talk about our Christian heritage, what is your take on where we are today? Who are we, and where do we stand in the covenant?
Well, you use the right word there, because the covenant is the key to understanding our heritage. Well, we're in America in the 21st century, and unfortunately, like most of America, we're very ignorant of history in general. Americans don't pay attention to history as much as other peoples have tended to do in the past. So we're going to have to really get over a lot of the handicaps that we have. And our heritage as God's people goes, of course, all the way back to the book of Genesis. The story begins at the very beginning with the creation, and of course with Noah, and then also preeminently with the call of Abraham as the father of God's people. So that's where our heritage comes from. Of course, all of the Bible builds upon that. Most Christians don't realize that that story of the Bible is building, but I make it a point to bring that out when I do the teaching and preaching.
Thank you very much, Tim. Again, you've been listening to Tim Martin. He's an author and teacher here at Covenant Community Church in Whitehall, Montana. So let's listen in.